Hey, business building warrior, it's Jim coming at you with a new episode. I've got a guest today who I'll introduce to you in just a moment. He's a young man who's built an incredible business as a teenager using his mom's name for his Amazon account because he's not old enough. He's gone ahead and done some incredible things, and we'll dive into that. What he sells, where he finds his products, and how he's grown his business to such a robust level. It hasn't been smooth sailing all along. Definitely some rocky roads along the way, but he's a proven Amazon course student, as you hear so often talked about on this show. They're coaching students as well. And that didn't go great at first. And he's very transparent about that. I love the transparency, but it shows that we do step up and help when something doesn't go well, and we stick with our students. And he's got a great story to share about that today as well. I think you're going to appreciate hearing from a young man who obviously has his head on straight, has a bright future, and he's excited about the business that he's building, the opportunity that he's creating. And I think you're going to hear more from this guy as he steps into some leadership roles around here, as he matures and grows and shares what he's learned along the way. Just one of those very encouraging episodes that I think is going to make a lot of people, and maybe even you, say to yourself, okay, this kid's doing it. I'm going to do it too. Let's go. So enjoy this episode. And we'd love to hear some feedback from you, what you think. Hey, maybe you want to be a guest on this show. If you're one of the students, the many successful students from our community, the thousands of people in our Facebook group, maybe that have a story you want to share, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us. If you want to be a part of a group like this, and Jarrett today, our guest, speaks very, very highly of this community, how they've poured into his life and spent time with him and mentored him, and how he pops in and asks his questions in our Facebook group. It's completely free. If you want to be a part of a group like that and you're not yet, you can go to silentjim.com. There's a link to our free Facebook group. We're coming up on 70,000 people as I'm recording this rapidly. And we'd love to add you to our ranks. It's a global community. Anyone in the world can do the stuff that we teach here. We'd love to have you as a next success story. So I think that's enough announcements for now. Let's jump over and have an episode with Mr. Jarrett. You're going to enjoy this guy. So Jarrett, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Jim. It's an honor to be here.
It's great to have you, man. Well, let's jump right into your story. Put it in your own words, man. Talk us through it.
Yeah, it's been quite a long journey. We've heard about you. My family's heard about you for a very long time. My mom's been on your email list since probably about 2008, 2007-ish. I was very young back then, and she had heard about you from homeschool circles. I have one brother, and both of us have been homeschooled all of our lives, and your name is pretty popular among the homeschool circles. So she heard about you from there, but she didn't really ever look into you. She kind of thought you were about writing a book, and that was about it. And she didn't really take the time to really research and understand who you were. But there was something that always kept it in the back of her mind to not unsubscribe from your email list. And so when we started getting older and I was about to go into high school, we were discussing career opportunities and the path that I should take. And I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I had no idea what I wanted to do as an entrepreneur, but I liked the idea of working for myself and having freedom and flexibility.
Yeah. Where do you think you got that entrepreneurial spirit from? And maybe, I don't know if that's actually a good question now that I've heard myself say it, because I kind of think that we're all born entrepreneurs until it's beat out of us.
Yeah.
So I think, did you have an entrepreneurial influence maybe that propelled you in that direction?
Yeah.
Is that your mom? Is she pretty entrepreneurial? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. She is a piano teacher and had her own studio before she had my brother and I. She started a business. probably about 2010 to no 2012, 2014, just for a couple years. But she's always had an entrepreneurial spirit, and she really promoted that and talked to us a lot about how college isn't for everyone necessarily, and it's okay if you have another route that you take. And the idea of having multiple streams of income and not being dependent on your employer for everything, that was really ingrained into me when I was a little younger.
Yeah, that's common household discussions for our homeschool family as well. Absolutely. I think at this point, 3 of the 5 kids have their own business rolling at this point. So yeah, and the other 2 work for us or in our businesses. So yeah, it's pretty exciting to see those kind of foundational conversations that you have and that you get to have. I'm a huge homeschool advocate, like you said, and I've spoken in front of some of the homeschool communities and such, but there's the 2 kind of match up very well. That entrepreneurial spirit and the homeschooling mindset just link up so well. And you've got such an advantage too, Jared. I've seen it play out now, having been in this arena about 20 years. I mean, you're very well spoken, you're articulate, obviously intelligent, well read. You've studied many interesting topics, I'm sure, and you're launching what listeners are about to find out is a very successful business. I'm so encouraged. Like, if the future is about young men like you rising in prominence, I'm optimistic. So yeah, it's really cool hearing your story so far. This is great. So did you intentionally study entrepreneurship as part of your homeschool, or you just said you kind of got interested in it and you just kind of started pursuing it?
Yeah, not really. I don't have a, I guess, special talent for it. I didn't grow up reading any business books, or it was pretty much just, I want to work for myself and I want to be able to make as little as much as I want. I really did not have much of a background in it. And so when it came time when I about started high school, we were looking at a couple different options. I think my mom presented like vending machines that we could do, or I think even drop shipping. Yeah. But then we also found you, and we're like, what about Jim Cockrum and the Amazon course? I've heard about it, but that's when we actually looked into it. I did send out one shipment when I was 14. I didn't have any clue what I was doing, but I did get one out, and it sold. I think I lost money on it because I didn't understand the buy box, and so when they priced lower than me, then I would go under them until the point I was losing money. But I did send out one shipment then.
And how long ago was that?
That was 4 years ago.
When you were 14, so you're 18 now?
I'm 18 now. Yes.
Okay, so you got the account under your own name yet? Or are you still using?
No, it was under my mom's.
That's right. Yeah, that's so great.
We're working on transferring stuff now, but it's still under. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. And an arrangement. There's no reason to push that too hard. You know, Amazon likes all the I's dotted, T's crossed when you start transferring names and stuff. So proceed with caution there. But that's beautiful. So yeah, we've had a handful over the years of teenagers under 18 who've had to use their parents' names to register their Amazon accounts. And they build these incredible businesses before most people are even out of high school, before most of your friends are even going tens of thousands of dollars into debt, going to college. You're building a successful business. So I love this trajectory that you're on. I'm really enjoying this story. So you were talking about 4 years ago, you made your first few sales, maybe lost a little money, figuring it out as you go. Was it just you going through it yourself at that point? And did you have the proven Amazon course at that point, you said, or?
I think we did. Yeah.
Okay. Because it's been around about 10 years. So you guys probably jumped in, and the course has kind of grown up a little bit with you being in there 4 or 5 years at this point.
Yes. The user interface has become so much easier to just kind of organize the material and know where you want to start.
Yeah. You guys remember the early days when it was basically a list of links and PDFs.
Yep.
That was pretty ugly, but it was effective. but
It
it
was
was
very good
for
content.
sure. It looks a lot more like Netflix now, which is nice.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah. All right. So keep it going, man.
Yeah. So I didn't really do anything after that. But when it was about the summer of 2018, you had your CES indie conference. And
Right.
My mom saw something about scholarship opportunities. I think at that time it was for military or veterans, something like that, or disabilities. And
yeah, well, first responders, and we like to take care of our first responders, military, police, those
absolutely.
sorts of people that if they're in a financially difficult situation, that's just an ongoing thing that we do around here. And
Yeah.
but especially at time for our events, we like to take care of them and their families as best we possibly can.
I think my mom just encouraged me to apply for the scholarship, even though I wasn't that. Just because I wanted to get into this e-commerce business, but I really had no idea where to start. I had no idea what I was doing. And so I applied for the scholarship. And I just remember actually a very specific moment. I was like out in my backyard, and I think I was taking my dog out to pee. And I remember praying. I was like, if this is what you want for me, God, like, show me by giving me the scholarship. And I did not get it. They said no. And then about a week later or a week and a half later, I think it was Mary, she called back and was like, one of our first responders, veterans, had to drop, and we have a spot, and I thought of you and your name. And
wow.
Yeah, that was something
that's so great.
Very special.
Yeah. And we operate, I mean, obviously we could just give away everything free and invite everybody for free and do, and just pay out of pocket, but it's not a sustainable model. So
yeah,
it's kind of ingrained in our culture here. Be as generous as we absolutely can while being profitable, so that I'm able to pay the people on our team well, and we're able to pay coaches well and provide best of class services. But, we walk that line constantly. We don't want anyone to be left out because they can't afford it. So to hear that you kind of, God dropped your name on Mary's heart when we had a slot open up, and that's so cool. So you were able to come to Indianapolis. Now, where do you live?
At that time, we were living in California, in Southern
That's
California.
a long trip. So you flew.
Yes. And honestly, that whole conference, it went over my head. I really did not understand much of it. Just being so green. But it was a really neat experience, and I got to see the potential of what this could be, and it really inspired me to want to pursue it.
That's phenomenal. Did you make some friends that you still have to this day at the event by any chance?
I met your son, Trey.
Oh, that's cool. Do you guys communicate?
Talked with me. He came up and talked with me for good 20, 30 minutes. And it's been incredible to see when I think he was 18 at that time, 19, and now where he is. Well,
we're talking about doing a mastermind together, provenmastermind.com. It's something we're going to be rolling out here in the near future. So keep an eye for that. But he's built an incredible business as well, for sure. So, all right, you came to the event, made a few friends, a little over your head, but did it inspire you like, hey, this is something I want to do, it sounds like, right?
Yes. And then I wanted to do it, but we had to put it on hold for a little bit. And the reason is because we've had some long family issues, and my mom felt that it was time to kind of take action on it and have a change. And so that was the beginning of 2019. And it culminated in my mom and myself. My mom separating from my dad, and then my mom and I going from California to Northern Virginia that summer. So really the whole first half of the year was preparations for that. It was a very big move.
For sure. I can't imagine. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry you went through that, man. And without, of course, obviously we don't need any details beyond what you've said to know that emotionally, spiritually, even physically challenging, difficult stuff that you guys have
Yeah.
been through. Um, and you've got to be in a good frame of mind, as you now know, to run a business.
Oh, yes.
So when life throws those, drama is kind of a lame word to use for it, but it's a word that pops in my head. Life throws lots of drama and circumstances and situations at you. And that's why I call business owners business building warriors, because we face those same crazy life circumstances as everyone else. That's one of the reasons I call us warriors anyway. There's many, many reasons, but we keep standing up and fighting forward anyway, serving, selling, providing value to our customers. And so kudos to you, man, for not just kind of writing off your teenage years and feeling sorry for yourself. That's a lot to carry.
Yeah, I definitely did for a couple months there.
Well, yeah, I mean, you get hit, you get knocked down. It's how long you stay down, though, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So during the period of planning, I had started a little bit with used books earlier in the year, just trying to find things to sell, make some money. And I kind of broke even on the books, but I did have a couple good ones where I sold a book that I bought for like $1 for $180, and one for like $100 that I bought for $1. But overall, I broke even, but it was a really good learning experience to get my feet wet, and kind of get back in it, even though I had sent out that one box in 2017. Yeah.
Right. So over the course of about 2.5 years, all we've done so far is lose money on a few products and break even playing with books.
Yep,
so it's very much like a part-time side thing, right? At this point, I take it.
Yes. I was not very consistent with it. But when we were like packing up the house in the summer, I remember I was watching the replans course when it first came out. And I remember that was like, it was the live sessions. And I remember my mom and I, we bought that, and we really wanted to give that a really good shot. So we bought that, and then after we had settled a little bit in Virginia, maybe just about a month, it was very recent, we signed up for the coaching program with you guys. And to be honest, the first round of it, our first coach, and that fall, it did not go well. We really struggled. There were various reasons. The coach for us wasn't a good fit, and also just moving, right? I personally wasn't in the best frame of mind to be doing it, even though I really felt like, oh, we need to have income here. And that was kind of motivating me, but my mind was not there. Both of ours weren't. And it was a tough fall. And we were just kind of ended up just going through clearance aisles, trying to find stuff. And it was a struggle. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And it sounds like you actually, I would say, if you haven't figured it out already yourself, I'm going to state the obvious, I think, for you, but one of the things you learned at some point running in your own business is stuff still has to be done, even when you're just not there physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, not there. It still has to happen. It's one of the best ways to teach yourself that discipline of doing stuff that's got to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. Business owners understand that discipline better than anyone else. Because when you're hurt, let's say you're an athlete and you're hurt physically, everyone understands. Oh, you can't do your athletic performance anymore because you're physically injured. So take the time off. Well, as business owners, your business can go under if you take that time off when you're weakened, when you're hurt, when you're down. You've got to figure it out. So those are some of the hardest moments. And I can relate, man. After 20 years, I've had a good handful of those where, you kidding me? I got to go put stuff in boxes and put tape on them. I don't feel like it. I don't want to do, but you do anyway.
Yep.
And so kudos to you and your mom for that season, man, that we're just figuring it out, plowing forward, even hiring a coach. And one thing I do want to clear up for people too, you mentioned you bought the replans. That's part of the Proven Amazon course. So I don't want people going out like, hey, where'd I go to buy that? Proven Amazon course is all you need. There's a link in the show notes. But let's keep it going. So coaching didn't go too great
it did
initially.
Not go well. Yeah. And we were just kind of felt like we were a little on our own. And I found my first, it took forever, but I found my first replan in February of 2020. So it took a few months to find one product. But as soon as I got that one product, then the light bulb went off and it clicked, like, this is how you find inventory. And I found, 10 more, 15 more. And by, that was about the time COVID hit and
Right.
Amazon shut down most categories for FBA. And so I was just kind of like building my list of products so that when they opened, I would be able to send some replans in. And so I think about May it opened up, and maybe a little earlier than that. And I sent in my stuff and got my business up to about 8,000-9,000 a month in sales around that time. Pretty much all replans there. Yeah.
That's excellent. And is it just you at that point? Is your mom still helping you side thing?
My mom. Yeah.
Why isn't mom on the podcast today?
I know.
What's your name? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
Lori.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, we were doing it together. I mean, I was the one mostly like sourcing the products and finding them, but she would drive me to the stores to pick it up, and then we'd go prep them together. And it worked out for a little bit. And we kind of felt like we started getting the hang of things. And it was about that time in June that I reached out to Nathan, and I kind of told him our story, and we were talking about how the coaching, like, we paid and it didn't really go well. And
Nathan's our coaching director, for those who don't know. Yeah.
Nathan Bailey. Yeah. And when we told him and talked to him, he pretty much at that point kind of took me under his wing and has coached and mentored me from then on. And that was a really huge turning point in our business. And
that's fantastic. Yeah. He's just got such a big heart. He's been with us we've been together as a team 17 years now. He's been running my coaching program. And I don't know if you know this or not, Jarrett, but I hired 3 people before him to run the coaching program with me, and fired them all within a few weeks because they just they didn't have the heart. They didn't love people. Like, maybe we're going to create success stories by loving people, by working with them until they succeed. It's not about conversion rate. It's about creating success stories and lifelong relationships. And I would say that to these guys, and they'd go, "Oh, that's beautiful. I want to be a part of it." But they didn't. And it became very apparent very quickly for all 3 of them. So then Nate came along, and the challenge with Nate is he loves and cares so much. Like, he won't eat or sleep. He'll go 24 hours a day, 4 days in a row with people, like, just because he can't turn it off, how much he is vested in care. So huge blessing to me, man, to have people that care at that level. And you've experienced it, and I'm sure your first coach was, we're not throwing them under the bus. It just wasn't a good fit. It wasn't good timing for you, for them, for the season you guys were in. And, but yeah, what a heart of gold Nate has. And it's an honor to get to work with him. But yeah, that's really cool. And he, by the way, is the one that said, "Hey, this Jarrett guy, you got to get him on the podcast." So that's why I reached out to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I love Nathan, and he's done so much for me. And he got us with the Pruitts. He put us with them to kind of redo this coaching thing and get us really on the right track. Larry and Sue Pruitt. And
yeah. And they direct one of our coaching teams. So we have a few coaching teams, and Larry and Sue are one of those teams that report to Nathan. Yeah. Another phenomenal. I could just go on and on about all these people. It's just incredible heart. Yeah. Yes. Couldn't do it without them. Larry and Sue. Right. Okay. So they became your coach then.
They became our coaches in round 2, pretty much. And they are phenomenal. And we clicked very well. And they helped us significantly and kind of reinforced some of the things that I had learned, but was on my own and didn't know if they were correct or not. Just kind of Facebook comments and, watching some YouTube videos and the Amazon course, but just seeing good information all over the place, but not really able to put it together.
So they helped you piece it together.
Yes, definitely. And a lot of encouragement too, because there were a couple times where it was really discouraging. The sales went down and we just thought we were on the right track and just weren't doing too well. But
we have a little visitor. My dog just walked in. If you're just listening, that might not make sense. But yeah, you see my little doggo, Asher, just came in and interrupted. You're all right, buddy.
And so by the end of 2020, we had built the business up to 25,000 in sales per month.
Wow. Okay. That's a big jump. Okay. So the last number you gave us was spring, summer, $8,000 to $10,000 a month, 2020. But by the end, August, so within 4 or 5 months, you'd gone from 8 or 10.
We went up to 25,000.
25. Okay. So we're about a year ago now at this point. You're at about 25 a month. Okay. And what were your margins? Do you remember?
At that point, it was probably between 20 and 25%.
Okay. Gotcha. Very, very normal, kind of in the sweet spot. Yeah.
Yeah. We were sourcing kind of like 100% ROI products that were kind of lower priced and kind of equated to about that 20% margin.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I think at that point too, we also had gotten 1 or 2 people to help with the prepping, just because it was becoming quite time consuming. And I was getting tired trying to, the business expands and now you have a lot more jobs to take care of. And
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So were they working at your house, coming to your home, or how were you arranging?
They were coming to the home. And we set it up so that they were independent contractors. But yeah, they were very minimal work hours too. It was no more than 10 hours a week that they were doing.
Gotcha. But that little bit helped just to take off some of the load of the prep, which is kind of the tedious part of this model.
Yes.
It's easy to find people willing to work part-time, especially, flexible hours, and they can work from home. Some of the best stories in the community are people who hire, neighbors that live down the street and the stuff just all goes to their house for prep.
Yeah.
Right.
That's incredible. I got my mom out of the prepping, which was kind of big because that's just not like what she should be doing, and she didn't really enjoy it either. She was quite good at it, but it was also prepping is kind of time consuming and just not the funnest job. And so to get her out of that was really nice, and it would be me and the other person doing it. And it definitely gave us some breathing room a little bit.
That's great. Okay, so we ended a year ago with. Do you remember what was your total 2020? What your sales total was? You haven't recalled?
About, I think it was 100, maybe a little bit more than 100,000 in sales. 100,
gotcha.
120.
That sounds about right with the numbers you gave. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So now, as we're recording this, we're winding down 2021. So the next full year of
Mhm.
business operations. Let's go
Yeah.
through that. What are some of the lessons you learned? How'd what did you get into selling? Maybe some
Yeah.
sounds like more expensive products, you said.
Yep. Yep. About March of 21, we had this issue with, well, kind of issue, some drama with our business credit card where my mom paid it off, but the balance didn't go away for some reason. Uh, I guess it doesn't go away until like the date when until the date's passed. And so she was looking at it one day, and she was like, "We still owe this amount, but our balance, how much money we have to pay it is less. Like we can't pay it. Like what happened? What went wrong?" And that's when we started like freaking out and like reevaluating our whole business and model of how we're doing things. And we find out like a week and a half, 2 weeks later that, oh, wait, we already did pay it off. So we're in a good spot. But it really opened like my eyes to some of the, I guess, not so efficient things we were doing.
Yeah. Cash flow,
Yeah.
that's cash flow 101.
Yeah.
Yeah. Managing the money coming in. You can have a profitable system and still the cash flow monster can get you, man, if you're not paying attention to when it's coming in and when it's going out.
Exactly. And so we're like, we need to get our cash flow better. How do we do this? And so one of the things that we did was we shifted towards higher priced items, moved our selling point up considerably. I went from selling things that were all $15, $20, nothing more than $50. And now it was a gradual shift, but we have some items that are 150, 200 plus that we sell. And it was that whole shift. It grew our sales while not really expanding the prep time.
Right.
And we were able to bring more people on because of that. So I was able to outsource more.
That's a great tip. There, you can move. If you can recognize replens at the $15, $20 level, your buy price, it's the same gig. Throw a zero on there, $150, $200 replens. They're out there. And it's a lot less prep work. And you're making more money too, if you're doing it right. Because I'd rather have a 20% margin on a $200 project than a 20% margin on a $10 project, right? Exactly. Or product, I should say. Yeah. So that is a great shift. And just that little shift alone. Now there are some drawbacks.
Oh, yes.
Each return hurts 10 times more than it used to, right? Yeah. And what types of products are you selling? I'm sure people are curious without giving away your niche market, but give me an example of what categories you moved into. What aisles in the store did you start hitting, kind of thing?
The home category.
Which is ungated for everybody when they start selling.
It's the biggest category. Anyone can do it.
Yep.
I love that category.
So do I.
Also, some of the health and household, that stuff's been pretty good. And just honestly, like unsexy, just regular products that are kind of boring. Yeah, that stuff does really well because
boring is good.
Not flashy. It's people will pay, and there's less competition for it. Those are my best products. Are these items that you would never give as a gift for anyone?
Right. And they're replens. I like to ask from time to time, what's a replen? If you defined it, it's always interesting. It's always a slightly different definition for different people who have been doing the business for a while. But how is a replen different than, say, going to Walmart and scanning barcodes and finding a few good deals? How's a replen reality different as a seller?
Right. For me, it's an item that is full priced, that when we buy it at that price, we are able to make a profit on it and buy it again and replenish it. There are some, I guess, sale replens. I don't really count those fully as replens. I want it to be 24/7. This item is always profitable. But Yeah, I think that's how I would define it. They're not profitable forever. They ebb and flow, but definitely items that are full priced, that are profitable and replenishable.
Easily sourced as they
Yeah,
sell. And
yeah,
they sell at a predictable clip too, which may seem obvious, but it needs to be said.
yes.
And that's the art of this, if you will. That's the skill set you need to pick up, is the difference between an item that just sits there. Anyone can find items that'll just sit there and not sell at a profit. It's
Yeah,
finding items that are going to move at a reasonable, predictable pace. It could be
yeah,
twice a month. It could be 10 times a month. It could be 1,000 times a month. Is it predictably moving at a nice pace where you know how many you need to go get to keep the machine turning? So how many
yeah.
replens do you have at this point?
We have about 200 that are active, and another 200 that are out of stock, or
Harder to find.
they're
Yeah.
really good when I can get
Yeah.
them. But
Right.
yeah, usually about 200 active.
Hey, quick break while I tell you about a fantastic sponsor, someone who's been a member of this community for a long time, Jonathan Swart and his family, since 2016. They built a company called ilovesupplies.com. They have great poly bags. These bags have strips on them when you peel it that don't cling to your hands or to the product. You don't have to flick your wrists. Printed right on the bags are the size of the bag in case they get mixed together. It's a beautiful feature. It also says ready to ship right on the bag, so you don't have to worry about putting stickers as much as you do currently. It really speeds up the time you spend prepping your product, which makes a big difference. Contact them at ilovesupplies.com. That's ilovesupplies.com. When you email them, use the email address igotmybags at ilovesupplies.com. Again, the email address igotmybags at ilovesupplies.com. Check the show notes. All the information is there as well. And how have you found these?
Well, it's changed. Before it was going to the aisles and typing in, right, the title,
The brand names, doing
brand
some
name,
searches. Yeah.
count, size. Then it was online, doing that online. Um, and then I started utilizing the Keepa product finder data
Mhm.
tab,
Yep.
and narrowing those products that fit my parameters. And then also the buy box statistics on Keepa, and seeing who else is on my ASINs. Those have been that's probably the best method for me now. And the reason for that is because I know how to source. I just don't have time to create my own leads. So I'll find someone who's got stuff that is profitable. And I honestly, most of the time, do not hop on what they sell. I go and I develop off of that, and I find things that I am like the only seller on it, FBA, or maybe there's one other seller.
Right.
But just
You
knowing
kind
that
of
it's
learn those bunny trail skills.
yeah,
You look at
yeah,
other people who are playing a similar game to you,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
and you bunny trail off of their stuff.
yeah,
And there may be a 10% overlap at the end of the day,
yeah,
which is fine, by the way. Some people think, oh, I want to be the only seller. Well, maybe if
yeah,
it's a private label product that you own, which is an advanced strategy,
yeah.
you guys will grow into that. I'm sure you will. We don't teach that to new sellers because there's a
Mm-hmm.
95% chance of failure. You guys have heard that soapbox if you've listened to a few episodes. People failing like crazy with that model when they start new, trying to build your own product. But with replens, there's successful replens we're on that have 25, 30 other sellers, and we're all making money. That's great. Buy box rotates. Everybody's getting
Yeah,
paid. The product is selling like crazy. So it's a matter of uncovering those opportunities. And it's not so much like, oh, I hope no other replen sellers find my stuff. It's really just, it's not like that at all.
no, no.
There's so many out there too. And I love you mentioned too, kind of digging into some of the behind the scenes aspects of Keepa, that tool that we always talk about. Episode 369 of this podcast talks about Keepa. I go in depth about why we love it, why it's different, why, in my opinion, it blows away all this tools that cost 100, 200, 500 bucks a month.
Yeah.
Keep it costs about 20 and it's better than all of them. I
Yeah.
explained why in that episode, but it has some advanced features that we don't talk about that often that you just hit on. We've actually got a course. After we're done recording this podcast, I'm talking with the coach on our team who's putting a course together that dives into how to use Keepa as a sourcing tool. And he just presented on it as well at our virtual conference. And we got great feedback. So I think we're going to make a little mini course for all our proven Amazon course students. Because it's really not a challenge to find products once you know how to use these tools properly. It's just not.
Yeah. I love, my favorite ASINs are the ones that I am the only FBA seller on. And I would
there's other merchant fulfill sellers, other FBM sellers.
Yeah.
And they're probably even prices marked below where you can sell.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
As an FBA seller.
Above. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But those are my favorite ones to jump on. You have to know a little bit about how that works. Like the items may be hazmat, or there may be a problem with it. It's too heavy. The fees are weird. But once you can kind of figure out, there's nothing wrong with this product. It's just nobody's selling it FBA. Then jump on it. Yeah.
We've got some, I'll just call it small appliances that we do that with. And so now I'm only making $20 a sale, while the FBM sellers are making 40 or 50 probably. Yeah. But that's fine with me. Sending them, shipping them on a regular basis. I'm not competing with all the other FBM sellers down here beating themselves up on a lower price. I'm the only FBA seller. And the beauty of being the only FBA seller, well, I'll let you tell, the people listening say, what is the beauty of being the only FBA seller? What advantage does that give you?
For me, it's given me more stability and predictability, because I'm getting a very predictable amount of sales. I'm getting most, if not all, the sales on that listing. I'm able to sell it for more. And those replans have been the ones that have lasted the longest. And it feels kind of like private label in a sense, or, having my unique listing.
Yeah, because I think what happens is a lot of sellers just assume that whoever's got the lowest price is the one that's getting all the sales.
Yeah.
And they're not paying attention to the fact that if, as an FBA seller, which that means people who have an Amazon Prime account, if they click that box that says only show me Prime deals, then you're the only one that's showing up. Yeah. And that's a lot of shoppers.
Oh, yeah.
So these other FBM sellers who are shipping it themselves, as if they were selling it on eBay, merchant fulfilling it themselves, they're beating each other up over price down here in the mud. And you're up here marked 20, 30% higher even. I mean, we've got some that we've marked way up, and we're selling more than any of them. If you look at the Keepa data, the buy box, not the buy box, you go into data and then what's that tab called? Do you remember what I'm talking about? It's buy box data, right?
Yeah, and it shows the win percentage. Yeah.
What percent of the time each seller is winning the buy box. Yep. Yep. And you look in there and like, man, we're getting 80% of the buy box and we're the highest price.
Yeah.
Right. Now, Amazon's getting its cut.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're using their warehouse.
Yeah.
But once you understand all the moving parts, it's not that complicated. You can really take advantage of that scenario. Yeah, that's a great tip. That's an advanced tip that I think anyone can take a look at. At any given time, if it's good FBA, it's probably good FBM as well, and vice versa. If it's a good FBM seller for you, if it's selling, it's probably good FBA. It's worth looking at. So every ASIN is almost two decisions. Am I going to do FBA or FBM? Or maybe a third option. There's plenty of ASINs we do both. So there's really three ways to tackle any given ASIN.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, cool. So let's talk about your numbers. How's 2021 shaking out? We only got a few days left in December here. How's it looking?
Oh, it's ever since we shifted to the higher price items and I've been able to outsource more tasks. I was able to really focus on the sourcing and blow that up. And I'm removed now from the prep process. So yeah, we went from 28,000 in April up to 75,000 by July. It was about close to 50,000 in just 3 months. And we've kind of maintained 75 from July to now. And kind of what we've been doing is working out, like first we get to 75. Now, how do we maintain that and repeat it and set up the system so that they're operating at that level? So we had to put the pieces in place, and there were just had some issues with products falling off and having to find enough to maintain that. But that's kind of where we're at right now, is about 75,000 at a 15% margin. And it's a lot less work for me regarding in the business. I'm not prepping much anymore. My main job is to create the purchase order list for my shopper, and then to reprice and make sure I'm selling my inventory. That's pretty much my main tasks, as well as the admin stuff. But as far as the whole ship process, and we've kind of removed ourselves from that.
That's fantastic. So it's you and your mom, and a couple part-time people still?
Yes, it's split out. I mean, it's probably equivalent to 2 full-time people, but it's divided over 5 different people.
That's kind of how we roll too. Our team is our entire team is part-time, flexible.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's just a beautiful arrangement for everybody. It's easy to add people into that system too, and take them out, and they take a break for a few weeks, and we're not leaning on one person like that. They better be there or this whole thing falls apart. It's very flexible. So what is your 2021 total overall sales outlook?
We are just about right now at 600,000. We're at like 592 right now.
So you'll hit 600 easy. We got a couple weeks left before we hit the end of the year. So 600 for the year is pretty realistic.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So are you Q4 reliant, do you feel like? I mean, is December like, man, we better have a good, or is it pretty stable throughout the year? You're selling boring stuff. So I would think
my December has not been exceptional at all. It was
nothing unusual. Yeah. Just another month, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I know it's going to go down after the Christmas shopping is over for about a week or so, or maybe a little longer than that.
Yeah. The last week of December can be pretty slow after Christmas. Yeah. But then you get into January, people use their gift cards. They're back. January for replan sellers quite often is bigger or as big as December.
Oh, yeah. That's how it was last year for us. End of 2020, beginning of 21. We actually did. We did just as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty typical, because again, we're selling the boring stuff. We're not, running around looking for the last elf on the shelf toy. It's boring stuff, and it's going to sell just the same in January as it did in December. That's another beauty of this model, is it's not feast and famine. It's nice and stable and steady. Little small tweaks as you go. Well, that's an incredible model. This has been a really cool story. The timeline of this has just been fantastic. And you guys have shown a lot of resilience. I'm sure there's 100 little stories you could tell in there of just, do you just want to turn all this off, Mom? And like, we're not in the mood for this. And, maybe I should just hit the books, go get a job. And, those conversations that come along the way when life throws you curveballs, but you guys stuck with it. Yes. And you've got a business, you've got a team, you've got a bright future. You're on this podcast now. And so people are going to be coming up to you and like, wow, you were the guy that inspired us. What would you say this is maybe a little curveball before I ask you what else you've got for us today, but what would you say to some of the other families that either homeschool or they're considering homeschooling, and how you integrate this entrepreneurial mindset into the day-to-day? Are there any lessons there that stand out, maybe encouragement? Because people hear me say these kinds of things, but I'd love to hear it from an 18-year-old. How have you guys managed that? Just for example, does Mom ever say, hey, stop making money, you got to go back to your math book? Like, how's that work?
We use the experience that I've gotten from my business, the practical experience, and use that as a lot of my education. I'm still taking classes, but I have learned so much from hands-on doing it. It's not theory anymore. I'm actually seeing, how the whole cash flow works, how what it takes to manage people, and the discipline. Really, I've learned a lot of discipline, and to your point earlier of like doing things when I don't feel in the mood for it, because I'm sure I'm sure once you start, you can't really stop it. If you stop, then your business falls apart. So to just taking, I guess, more responsibility and accountability for your actions and for what you're doing, that's been huge. Those are lessons that I feel it's hard to learn if you're just doing your academic, like math, science textbooks.
Yep.
Just yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And I have 30 soapboxes I could jump on, but I'm only going to jump on one or two at this point. Uh, the life lesson, I mean, to hear an 18-year-old talking about things like discipline and accountability and doing things even when I don't feel like it. And my business has taught me how to manage people and work with others. And like, that's the dream of education. I would say you've received a better education than any book classroom scenario could possibly have offered you by going down this path. To be so bold and so blunt about it. That's what that's my theory on this. And I go back to I've shared this on a couple episodes in the past, but there's enough new listeners each episode. Those who have heard it before can bear with me. But the three elements of a solid education from a Judeo-Christian traditional Hebrew background, the three elements. Have you ever heard me talk about this before, Jarrett?
I don't think so.
That's fine. That's great. Okay, so you can hopefully get something from this too, and encourage your mom because she's doing it brilliantly. But the three have to do with relationships. First, your relationship and your walk with God, spiritual training. What do we believe? Why do we believe it? What are those things those non-negotiables that we stand for as a family? Those spiritual qualities, honor, integrity, hard work ethic, those are the things built into our belief structure. And why? Where do those come from? That's all spiritual stuff, right? And then you get into the relational. How do you treat others? What's it like to be a son, a brother, a worker? How do you treat people who are older than you? Honor for age, all those lessons. Male, female relationships. Like, and if you've got those two lined up, you're 85, 90% of your way towards having a tremendous education that prepares you for the future. Those two. The third one that they tack in is enough about numbers in business that you can serve others well and profitably as you go on through life, where you don't feel like the world owes you something because I'm passionate about this. So the world better pay me for this because I'm passionate about it. No. How are you serving others with the gifts and talents you have and doing it profitably, where they feel like they're being served and they're willingly paying you, with be it an employer or ideally, in my opinion, running a business beats having a job any day. And you experience that. I mean, do a little experiment. Go work at McDonald's for a month and come tell me which one you like best. Right?
I've thought about it. Yeah.
I mean, it would give you a nice perspective. And I think it's a good lesson for all young people to learn. It's something to work hard for somebody and then look at that check that's been sliced and diced 18 ways and say, oh, wait, I thought I was getting 15 an hour. I did the math. I'm getting $7.45 an hour. What happens? That's the real world. So to have that experience of working hard and getting paid and taking kind of, orders from somebody that's building their dream makes you appreciate the ability to build your own dream and understand that it's not an easy thing to run a business, as you well know. Some great lessons in there. And I appreciate your perspective on that. You really dropped some keywords that got me going though, because there's just not a lot of people in this age demographic that you run into in your day-to-day life who are using words like responsibility and work ethic and doing stuff even when I don't feel like it, and teaching leadership skills to people who work for me. I'm guessing some of the people that work for you guys are older than you. Are they teenage employees?
Two of them are older than me. Yes.
Yeah. And so they've got a boss that's younger than them, and figuring out that dynamic isn't easy because you've got to approach with humility and honor. I mean, they're older than you, and
Yes.
They're to you honor age, but they work for you. So you're navigating some very interesting territory at a young age that I think is going to inspire some people.
Hope so. Yeah.
I'm sure it will. It has for me. It has for me as well.
Thank you.
Well, what other lessons do you have? Anything on your list? Like, man, I think I could add some wisdom to the conversation. Maybe just little tips, strategies, maybe some turning points that you think might help the listeners today, encourage them.
I have one or two things. I don't think that I could get off this podcast without thanking your community and all the people who have poured so much into me in the past couple of years. If I were to do this on my own and just kind of figuring it out, even with the course, right? Even with maybe even the coaching, there's no way that I could have been where I am right now, closing in on close to a 7-figure business. There's having the support, having the accountability, the relationships have been huge for me. I mean, there are so many people, Nathan, of course, and the Pruitts and Rich Potter, so many people I could name that have poured into me and pretty much brought me where I am. I mean, I had to do the work and take action on what they gave me, but they've given a lot of their time, and just having that, I don't know, encouragement and to keep going has been really big. And so, and also the community as a whole. Whenever I go on your Facebook group, it's always so positive. People are so encouraging. And just that community that you've developed is impacted so many people.
Yeah, I love that word encouraging, but buried in it is the word courage, which is a very viral human, I don't know, call it a condition or emotion. It spreads, as does cowardice. As does fear. So you got to be very intentional. And I think we've built a culture where encouragement, the courage needed to be a warrior, to go into charge into battle, even when you don't feel like it, do the things that need done. That's contagious. And we've fostered an environment where I benefit from far more than I work for at this point. We've reached a tipping point a long time ago where I benefit far more than I fan the flame myself. It's like we're all enjoying this campfire that we all just kind of toss a stick onto every once in a while. That's a visual image that just kind of came to mind. But it's like this place that we can all rely on and go to that's always kind of there. And if someone shows that obviously they don't have the best interest of the community in mind, they have another agenda. They're there just to sell something, or they're just to, take the money and run type of attitude of, okay, here, come in day one advertising their something that competes with what we've been doing around here for 20 years. It's like, this isn't the place for you. So what you're left with is a group of really good people that are there to support and encourage each other. And one of the things I want to encourage you in as you're getting into your young adult years is, at any given time in your life, you need to be not only being mentored by great people in a great community, but who's behind you, coming up kind of behind you that you're mentoring? Who are those 14-year-olds or those 10, 11, 12-year-olds that I'm old to them and to you? But for you to spend some time with them, encouraging them into this entrepreneurship, this different way of thinking, they're just going to listen to every word you say. And you're going to have the ability to really shape how they approach life and their future and earning an income and relationships. And so be mentored by great people and mentor people in the path that you've had the benefit of receiving, would be my encouragement for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in this next season of life. And I bet if you used your imagination, you could kind of, some of those names not even pop into your head. And if you don't have names that pop into your head, intentionally seek it out. It doesn't have to be 30 people, but 2 or 3 guys, I'm going to check in on them from time to time, see how they're doing. And because there's a benefit to you in that you'll come to appreciate. And it'll be your kids eventually at some point that you're doing that with. But in the meantime, there's something about being that older teenager. The younger teenagers just think you're so cool. The difference between 2 or 3 years is a big deal still. It won't be forever. Right now it is at your age. So take advantage of that. But great stuff. Well, so I appreciate you saying that. And I appreciate you showing some love back to the community and some of the great leaders around here. What else is on your list? Anything else that you'd like to share with the community before we jump off here?
Yeah. I think just last thing is like for people who are new or whatever the circumstances, like it's definitely possible to do this business. I came at it being very young and having really no background. I don't have any special skills. All the like my products I find, it's because I spent hours and months trying to coming up with nothing, and then learning how to do it. The systems I put in place that I have now are because the ones that I tried previously didn't work. There's nothing unique or like special that I have that's giving me this that's allowing me to succeed with my sales and the business. It's really just if you're consistent with it and you don't give up when you want to cry or you can cry. I cry a lot in my business, but to keep going and be persistent and have that courage, it's absolutely possible.
It is. It is. And this model specifically is something that I put the weight of my reputation behind on a regular basis because I've just seen it work for so many people. And I love what you said. There's no one slid you a list of, hey, go buy these products. We won't tell anybody. This is what that's not what our coaching program is. We give you the skills, but only you can dig deep and find the persistence. And anything worth building will always be that way.
Yes.
God set it up that way. Like anything worth having doesn't just fall from the sky.
Yeah.
You got to get out. Now you'll find yourself at the right place at the right time sometimes, but you'll look even in those moments. What was it that got you there? Persistence, connections, relationships, conversations took you to that point where you were kind of in the right place at the right time. And just as often, things will fall apart. And then your response becomes important. That's all you can control in those moments is your response, your reaction. How are you going to respond? Focus on the loss or focus on the lesson. Like those tough pivot moments, easy to say, but they really kind of start to define who you are and where you find yourself in your life, the words you use even. So, man, I'm encouraged, man. This has been really fun hanging out with you today.
Thank you. Yeah, I've really enjoyed this.
Bright future. And I see you as a future leader in the e-commerce world. You started at a young age. You've got I say this to my son all the time, Trey, like you got about a 25-year head start on me, man. You're going to do great. Because I didn't start till I was in my, 30s. And here you are at 18 with, before you're even 20, you're going to have a thriving 7-figure business. And that's a good place to be. So,
yeah, I definitely want to get more involved in the community that you have and give back way more than I've received. It's that I guess the spirit of giving and really caring for others that you have instilled in the community has really impacted me, and it's contagious. And I definitely feel that I love the community and I want to be around it for a very long time and help whoever I can.
Man, I could see some great leadership roles for you in the future. We got to get you on stage. Would you be nervous to be standing in front of 700 people telling a half-hour version of your story, or would you do great with it? What do you think?
I could probably handle it. Yeah.
It'd be great for you.
But
and people, I love putting our students who've never done something like that before, especially, just give them the chance to kind of feel, because that is the next stage of leadership. And you've identified it. You've got a great forward-looking approach to this. Is you're going to be using your face and your name and your voice the greatest leadership gift God gave all of us is our voice, ability to communicate. Here's how things work. Here's what I've learned. Here's how to do what I've done. You start to find yourself leading. So absolutely, those roles are going to open up for you. And I appreciate you sharing those sentiments. And just by doing this podcast today, you've given a lot of people a lot more than I think you realize. You'll come to appreciate it as you get a little older. But to see people than you, significantly younger than you, picking up and kind of carrying the mantle of something that you've believed in for so long, it strikes a different chord that's hard to understand. So you got a couple more decades under your belt, but it's certainly an encouragement for me, and I think it will be for many others as well. So, well, I'm going to talk to the listeners for a minute, Jared. Okay, just hang loose for a minute, buddy, and I really appreciate your time today. But for those who hung out with Jarrett and I today, like I always say, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. But even if you didn't, this was time well spent for me. And I hope you enjoyed this as well and got some great tidbits. I think this is one of those episodes where if you're brand new, you felt encouraged. And if you've been around a while, we dropped some golden nuggets for you. One way that you could certainly pay us back if you appreciated this episode today, I'll give you a couple ways, but one of them is just to send people to silentjim.com and say, hey, go check out this podcast. Interviewed a young man today. It's coming up on a 7-figure business at the age of 18 after even going through some family struggles. He's thriving. I think it'll encourage some people. So share it. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? And the other thing is, no matter where you're listening, if it's YouTube or if you're on some podcast listening app, leave us a review, 5 stars, thumbs up, click the heart, whatever it is, you know how to do that stuff. We really appreciate that. That helps us gain that traction as well as we help spread the word, because we have a $0 marketing budget for this program. You are our marketing team. So thanks for helping us spread the word and help this show continue to grow. We've got we've attracted the attention of some fantastic sponsors now that kind of helps pay for things around here. This doesn't just happen. We've got a whole team. There's about 5 or 6 of us involved in every episode that are touching, massaging, editing, producing this thing. So thanks for helping support that by spreading the word. And with that being said, Jarrett, one more time, man, thanks for being with us today, buddy.
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure, man. And for all the listeners, all the business building warriors out there, be encouraged. We're in your corner. We're praying for you. Next year is going to be beautiful. Let's stick together, keep working, keep plowing forward. We'll have another great episode for you again real soon. We'll talk to you then. Hey, before I let you go, one last reminder, our incredible sponsors, ilovesupplies.com. There's a link in the show notes. Go check out their poly bags. It will speed up the process of getting your inventory ready to send to Amazon. Time is money. They can help you out. ilovesupplies.com.